Welcome to Mind Over Markets, a space where we step away from the noise and return to the quiet work of understanding ourselves. Every chart tells a story, every candle hides a decision. But beneath all the data and analysis lies the only variable that truly matters: the human mind. This episode is not about strategy, not about signals, not even about the market itself. It's about you, your awareness, your discipline, your ability to meet uncertainty with clarity and calm. Because trading is not just about reading price action, it's about reading yourself. So as you listen, I invite you to slow down, to breathe, to let go of the urge to fix anything, and instead to observe. This is your time to reflect, to review, to refine. Today's session, the end-of-day debrief that sticks the 5 required fields. A nightly ritual that turns experience into wisdom and mistakes into mastery. Find a quiet space. Close the other tabs. Let the market fade for a while, because the real edge begins here, inside the stillness of your own awareness. Every trading day ends the same way. The market closes. The charts go still. And in that quiet space between exhaustion and relief, there's a silence that very few traders know how to sit with. You might glance at your P&L, a small win, a small loss, maybe a flat day. But the truth is, those numbers are not the real story. The real story lives inside you, in what the market revealed about your mind. When the day ends, the majority of traders rush away. They scroll their phones, distract themselves, or replay the charts, hoping the data will tell them something new. But the data isn't the teacher. Your reaction to the data is. That's what an end-of-day debrief is meant to capture. It's not a report. It's a reflection, a quiet conversation with yourself about what truly happened inside your head, not just on your screen. You see, the market doesn't test your strategy. It tests your self-awareness. It asks you, did you follow your edge or did your emotions trade for you? And that's why we journal. Not to write down numbers or setups, but to trace the footprints of our consciousness. Each entry is a mirror, showing us the invisible patterns we repeat every single day. If you ever feel like you're stuck in the same mistakes, if your progress feels circular, if you keep saying, I knew what to do, but I didn't do it, then your problem isn't your strategy. It's the lack of reflection. It's the absence of review. That's why today I want to take you through a process, a framework that's not just about documentation, but transformation. I call it the end-of-day debrief that sticks, because it doesn't just summarize your trades, it rewires how you experience them. This debrief is built on 5 required fields, 5 places to look inward, 5 ways to anchor your awareness before the next trading day begins. Each one is a lens not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Because mastery in trading doesn't begin with better strategies. It begins with better self-observation. So take a breath, let the day go, and let's begin this quiet practice together. Before you write down any trades, pause. Ask yourself, what emotional tone carried me through today? This isn't about labeling emotions as good or bad. It's about noticing their presence without resistance, without justification. Were you calm, restless, hopeful, anxious, eager to make back what you lost yesterday? Every emotion is data, and that data reveals how your internal world responded to external uncertainty. When you record your emotional state, you begin to train something far deeper than awareness. You train detachment. You stop being inside the emotion and start observing it from the outside. Maybe you notice that on days you feel rushed, you cut trades too early, or when you feel powerful, you take too much risk, or when you're bored, you chase setups that don't exist. By noting the emotional temperatures of your trading day, you start to see your own behavioral fingerprints patterns that repeat regardless of market conditions. This is the foundation of trading psychology, not control, not suppression, but recognition. You can't master what you won't observe. And journaling emotion turns noise into information. Here's the truth. If you don't release your emotions at the end of the day, you'll carry them into tomorrow. And then tomorrow you won't be trading the market. You'll be trading yesterday's unresolved energy. That's why this first field matters more than any technical note you'll ever write. It cleans the lens of your perception. It clears the emotional residue. It prepares you to see the market and yourself with clarity again. So tonight, when you open your journal, start with this simple line: today my emotional state was, and whatever comes after that, let it be honest, raw, and unedited, because honesty heals repetition. Now that you've acknowledged how you felt, it's time to look at how you executed. This field isn't about results, it's about alignment. Ask yourself, how clean was my setup before I took the trade? Was it high probability, clear confluence, perfect context? Or was it blurry, forced, uncertain? Did I enter because I saw my edge or because I wanted to see something? The truth is, your setup quality is often a mirror of your mental state. When your mind is clear, your setups are clear. When your mind is cluttered, everything looks like an opportunity. Rate your setup quality. You can use a number 1 to 10, but more importantly, describe why. I felt impatient, so I convinced myself it was valid. I waited patiently, and the chart aligned perfectly. When you describe it, you rewire the association between discipline and reward. You remind your brain that quality decisions matter more than immediate outcomes. Here's where most traders fail. They confuse a profitable trade with a good decision. They confuse a losing trade with a bad decision. But that's not how consistency is built. Consistency is built on the ability to evaluate your decision separately from its result. That's what setup quality teaches you, the art of separating logic from outcome. Because in trading, the outcome is random, but your process is not. So ask yourself each day, did I trade my system or did I trade my emotions dressed up as logic? Be honest, because the market already knows the truth. And when you write it down, you take the first step toward mastering it. Take a slow breath. Let the charts fade from your mind for a moment. You've already looked at how you felt today and how clear your setups were. Now we move into the part that separates those who merely trade from those who evolve. This is the moment where we look not at the market, but at how you responded to it. Field 3, execution discipline. Execution is where the truth of your mindset is revealed. It's where your beliefs about yourself meet uncertainty in real time. So ask yourself, did I execute according to my plan or according to my emotions? Maybe you had a setup you've practiced 100 times before, but when the moment came, you hesitated. You told yourself, I'll wait for confirmation. And by the time confirmation came, the move was gone. Or maybe you entered too early because you were afraid the market would run without you. You told yourself, I know this pattern. I've seen it before. But deep down, you knew it wasn't ready. That moment of hesitation, that moment of impulse, those are not technical errors. They are emotional truths. Every trader has two systems, the system on the chart and the system in the mind. You can spend years perfecting the one on the chart. But if you don't refine the one in your mind, you'll keep sabotaging yourself in the same subtle ways. So when you journal this field, be radically honest. Did I follow my plan? Did I manage my risk exactly as intended? Did I move my stop because of fear or logic? And then write, if not, what emotion took control at that moment? This is not about guilt. This is not about blame. It's about pattern recognition, the kind that changes behavior. Because every time you write down a lapse in discipline, you expose the emotional impulse behind it. And every time you expose that impulse, it loses a bit of its power over you. Discipline is not a wall you build overnight. It's a series of small truths written down consistently. When you observe your own execution without judgment, you begin to replace shame with curiosity. And curiosity is the seed of mastery. Soon you'll start to notice your biggest mistakes don't come from not knowing. They come from knowing, but not trusting yourself enough to act. The market rewards alignment between your rules, your actions, and your emotions. That alignment can't be forced. It can only be trained through reflection, repetition, and gentle accountability to yourself. That's why this field exists, not to punish you for inconsistency, but to remind you that consistency is built on awareness, not perfection. So as you write, say to yourself quietly, today I did my best with the awareness I had. And then tomorrow I will do better, not because I'm trying harder, but because I'm seeing clearer. Field 4, Cognitive Bias Notes. Now we move even deeper into the invisible mechanisms that shape every decision you make. Biases are not flaws. They are shortcuts. They're the brain's way of saving energy in a complex, uncertain world. But in trading, these shortcuts often betray us. They make us see patterns that don't exist. They make us feel confident when we shouldn't, and fearful when there's no real danger. When you become aware of your biases, you begin to reclaim your freedom. So in this field each day, ask yourself, what mental distortion influenced me today? Was it FOMO, the fear of missing out, that pulled you into a late entry? Was it recency bias, where the last trade's outcome dictated your confidence level? Was it confirmation bias, where you search for reasons to justify a trade instead of testing your idea? Or maybe it was loss aversion, that silent force that makes you cut winners too early and hold losers just a little longer, hoping they'll turn around. Every trader experiences these. The difference is that professionals notice them. Amateurs justify them. So write it down. Name the bias. Describe how it showed up today. When you name your bias, you take it out of the shadows. You transform it from a subconscious driver into a conscious signal. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns. Maybe you realize FOMO appears most often after 3 losing days. Maybe you notice overconfidence after a big win. Maybe you see that fear creeps in every time volatility spikes. These patterns are gold because they show you where your emotional programming is strongest. And once you see it, you can design your process around it. For example, if you know you're vulnerable to FOMO, you can create a rule: no trades in the first 15 minutes after a missed setup. If you know you tilt after losses, you can schedule a mandatory 5-minute break before re-entry. That's what mastery looks like, not emotionless trading, but emotionally aware trading. Because awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you control. So as you fill this 4th field, don't just write FOMO or overconfidence. Write the story of how it moved through you. Write how it changed your perception of risk. Write what it whispered in your ear and how next time you'll recognize its voice sooner. Biases don't disappear, but they lose their grip when you bring them into the light of attention. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. The trader who learns to observe his own mind has already stepped beyond the reach of most of his mistakes. So tonight, when you close your journal, don't see these notes as weaknesses. See them as coordinates on a map that leads back to your most stable, centered self. Because each bias you catch is one less blind spot in tomorrow's performance. Take another breath. You've now moved through 3 of the 5 fields: emotion, setup, execution, and bias. You've looked into the mirror of your trading mind and seen both the clarity and the chaos. That awareness is not small. It's the foundation of transformation. Because once you've seen your own mind at work, you can no longer pretend you don't know. And that's where growth begins. In the next part, we'll move into the final piece of the debrief, the most important field of all the mindset reframe. This is where reflection turns into wisdom, where the day's pain becomes insight, where your trading journal becomes a living record of your evolution as a conscious trader. So close your eyes for a moment, let the markets fade, and prepare to step into a deeper awareness of who you are becoming one trading day at a time. The charts are closed, your notes are written, the noise of the day has finally settled into silence. Now there's only you, your breath, and the echo of everything that happened, each entry, each hesitation, each surge of emotion. This final step, this fifth field, is where reflection becomes integration. It's called the key lesson, or the mindset reframe. This is not about the market anymore. This is about meaning. Field 5 key lesson, mindset reframe. At the end of each trading day, the most important question is not, how much did I make, but rather, what did the market teach me about myself today? Because every day in the market is a mirror. It reflects something you needed to see, something about patience, something about attachment, something about trust. Sometimes the lesson hides inside a winning trade. Sometimes it hides inside frustration. Sometimes it hides in the moment you almost lost control. Your job is to extract that lesson and then reframe it into language that strengthens your mind. Maybe you write, I realized I trade better when I accept uncertainty, not when I fight it. Or, today taught me that fear is not a signal to stop, it's a signal to slow down. Or even, I don't need to predict, I need to respond. The reframe is powerful because it changes how your nervous system encodes experience. It turns mistakes into learning data. It turns regret into growth. It gives your brain closure so you don't carry open emotional loops into the next session. Every time you reframe a difficult day into a useful insight, you're training resilience. You're teaching your subconscious that no trade is wasted, that every outcome serves your evolution. That's how you build what I call psychological capital. It's the inner equity that grows with every honest reflection. And unlike financial capital, it compounds forever. So take your journal. Read back through the fields you've written your emotions, your setup quality, your execution notes, your biases. Then close your eyes and ask yourself gently, what truth is trying to emerge from all this? It might come as a single sentence, a quiet realization, a whisper of understanding. Write it down. Let that be the final line of your debrief. Because when you end your day with awareness instead of frustration, you shift your entire trading identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone chasing certainty and begin seeing yourself as someone cultivating mastery, integrating the practice. If you commit to this 5-field review for just 1 week, you'll notice a subtle change. Not in your P&L, not yet, but in your presence. You'll feel a little calmer entering trades. You'll hesitate less when your setup appears. You'll notice the space between impulse and action, and in that space, you'll find choice. That choice is freedom. Freedom from the cycle of emotional reactivity. Freedom from the endless self-critique that shadows most traders. Freedom from the need to prove something to the market. Because when you reflect daily, you no longer need the market to validate you. You validate yourself through awareness. Each day becomes a micro-experiment in consciousness. Each journal entry becomes a conversation between your past and future self. And slowly you begin to see that trading was never about the charts. It was always about learning to see yourself clearly. The numbers, the ticks, the volatility, they were only the canvas. The real art is internal. The closing reflection. Take a deep breath. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale slowly. Let the tension of the day dissolve. Let your attention drop from your thoughts to your breath. You've done what most traders will never do. You've taken the time to understand yourself. That's what separates mastery from repetition. Most traders keep reliving the same day, the same mistakes over and over, but you're writing a different story. You're converting experience into wisdom. You're turning chaos into clarity. And one day you'll look back at these journals pages filled with truth, frustration, insight, and growth, and you'll realize that this was the real work, not the strategy, not the indicators, but this quiet act of reflection, the nightly ritual that kept your mind clean and your awareness sharp. So before you close your journal tonight, write one final line: I am learning faster than I am losing. That sentence alone is enough to carry you forward, because progress in trading is not measured by profit. It's measured by perspective. And if your perspective deepens, your results will eventually follow. When you wake tomorrow, you'll face new charts, new volatility, new uncertainty, but you'll carry with you the calm of someone who understands themselves, and that more than any system, any setup, any signal, is the true edge in trading. So end your day with grace. Release what no longer serves you. Trust that awareness is doing its work beneath the surface. Because every evening debrief you complete is one more step toward the version of you who no longer reacts to the market but responds to it with patience, precision, and peace. This is how transformation happens. Not in the heat of the trade, but in the quiet after it's done. So close your laptop, breathe, reflect, and remember you are both the trader and the trade, the observer and the observed. And with every end-of-day debrief that sticks, you move closer to mastering not the market, but yourself. If you've made it this far, take a moment to appreciate what that means. You didn't just listen, you practiced presence. You gave yourself space to slow down, to process, to see clearly. And that more than any chart pattern or algorithm is the foundation of consistency. Each reflection you make, each emotion you write down, each truth you face is a deposit into your mental capital. And over time, that capital compounds into something extraordinary: trust. Trust in your process. Trust in your patience. Trust in yourself. This is Mind Over Markets, where trading becomes a mirror and awareness becomes your edge. If this session brought you value, take a moment to breathe it in and carry that calm into tomorrow's open. Because the market will always test your system, but your system will always reflect your state of mind. Until next time, keep your charts clean, keep your journal honest, and remember, the greatest trade you'll ever make is mastering your own psychology.